We are group 2 and we'll be presenting on this topic today. I hope you gain something out of this. So let's talk about movies because they are one form of media, right? And we all love movies, don't we? Right? So this is just one example that I took up of High School Musical. This is what they show in the movies and this is what it is like, alright? And in India, it's more like a classroom and everything. They don't even like have a common lunch area where everyone sits down, right? So what is that we're actually trying to say over here? Are movies actually representing what goes on in real life? No, right? Not really. The more real movies get, like documentaries, the more boring they become, right? So they won't sell, but they, right? So what we are trying to say is that some amount of fiction, fantasy, unrealism has to be put into a form of media such as movies because it has to provide that entertainment factor. Okay, so that people actually go ahead and watch it. It is sort of an escape from reality that people seek for when they come back home after a long day of work, or if they have a weekend to chill out, relax, grab a beer, chips, hang out with friends and watch a movie, right? It's supposed to be an escape from reality. But what we don't see is that there are some aspects of movies or advertisements or news, any other form of media for that matter. There is some aspect of it which actually represents or symbolizes things in society that are for real, right? Let's talk about, okay, can any one of you give me an example of any movie? Sorry? Okay, like DDS you mentioned, right? When was the movie released? In the 90s, right? Mid-90s. Alright? So that movie, everything that was shown there, the unyielding father, alright, and the couple who were in love but then they could not get together because the family weren't ready. All those are representative in Indian society, which still holds good today in a lot of cultures, but then a lot of us have moved ahead from there, right? We have a lot of love marriages happening in urban cities and all. Another movie? Any other movie? Let's steer away from it. The man has already mentioned it. Okay. Anyway,
I think direction to the whole thing. Do I need the mic?
Okay, we bring a little more direction to the whole thing because we can't really talk about DDLJ and Matrix for the next 20 minutes. So we'll talk about the High School Musical. Can any of you name a high school movie, a quintessential high school movie that you've seen?
Windows.
Okay, one more, and we'll use the other two. One more. Rockford, okay. The other movies that I would have been very comfortable with is She's All That and any of the other movies which have very clear categorizations of the student population in a typical high school. So let's make this a little more interactive. I want you to at least raise your hands for this. I know it's fourth term and all that. How many of you were jocks in high school? Jocks, athletic and were popular, were, had all the girls and all that. Okay. Okay, so that's what a typical jock is. Okay. So that's okay, but no girls. Okay, okay, so okay, then next, how many of you were nerds? How many of you were geeks? And ma'am, were you probably a geek? So there are no girls over here. So anyway, so this is the typical classification that movies give us. But in reality, it's never like that. All of us are involved in so many things, and our high school lives are never as what is shown in movies. If you look at the movie The Breakfast Club, they've got such clear demarcations between social stature in classes, and that really does not happen. So media is not really a representation of reality.
Yeah, could I mention Beta House? Yeah, Beta House and Geek House.
Okay, so think about it. Just go back to, just look at this. This is the policeman who's represented in the media. Fearless, courageous. He's willing to do only the right things. And this is the true policeman, underpaid, understaffed. He's not even sure what is right. His political bosses control him. perception of beauty. This is the real woman. This is what she is being photoshopped, and this is what young girls are looking to as someone whom they should, try to emulate, at least physically. If you look at all the top models today, Miranda Kerr, Adriana Lima, if you look at Alessandra Ambrosio, all of them are anorexic to the point of, being starved. They die at young ages just because they're not eating enough. And that's something that the media is propagating. So then, it really brings us to this question. Is media really supposed to show us what reality is all about? Won't it be too boring? I think there's a brilliant example that can be taken, Avatar. Avatar, the movie, is based on some random world who's got a race of people called Na'vi, and the movie is so fantastical. Yet, if you look at it, most of the things that happen in the movie, most of the words that are used are very symbolic. The corporation calls the Na'vi monkeys and says that their bows and arrows won't penetrate their shields. It's the exact same mentality that was there in all the colonial countries. When they said that these peoples are monkeys or half-breeds, they have to be colonialized, they have to be civilized by the white man, the so-called white man's burden. And that representation in the media is something that we need to talk about today. So this is our common ground. This is what we've decided. That all of this is just a symbol of real life. Another important thing that our article tells us is that any media production is not just delivered for just one person. So the goal that it satisfies is spread across multiple stakeholders. I'll just mention the stakeholders once. The first stakeholder is the producer. That is the person who develops that media content. The second stakeholder is the audience, the person who watches that. The third stakeholder is the society in general. The fourth stakeholder is the corporations around them. Okay. So in case of race, when we talk about what the perceptions of the producers were for race, if you notice, there was a huge amount of underrepresentation of the African American population in television as well as in movies for quite a long period of time. They were just not deemed important enough. As a society, the society felt that they need to increase the number of characters who were not Caucasian because they felt that it promoted equality. For producers or for audiences, they felt a disconnect. Also, the producers were willing not to include black characters because of their economic strength, which was almost negligible. Since they were not the population who was buying tickets, they were not worried about them at all. If we look at a few examples, firstly, the most important example that comes to my mind, and at least what is most relevant, you've seen Will Smith has become a mainstream movie hero. He's given blockbusters after blockbusters. But if you notice, most of his heroines will not be white. They'll either be Latino or they'll be African American. So if you look at the movie Hitch, that was I think the first time that Will Smith actually became a solo hero. Hitch also has Eva Mendes. The same problem was faced when Flight Number 99 was being filmed with Wesley Snipes, where Jennifer Lopez was taken as the lead actress in favor of some other Caucasian artists because there might have been problems with the white audiences. And there's another important example about race that we should look at. In the 1960s, Captain Spock kissed Uhura, and that actually changed the way the world perceived black women and the relations that they had with white men. So that was a game-changing moment when society actually changed its viewpoint. Next, if we look at gender, for society, for the media producers, the people who actually develop these shows, women are supposed to be somebody who cedes to the masculinity of the male character. Okay? They are just trying to mirror the patriarchal society that is around them. For society, they feel that gender discrimination is an issue and it should be dealt with. There should be more women-centric shows. And for a woman or for a man, their individual behavior might just change because of the media. If you look at examples of shows like Mad Men or Suits, such overt displays of masculinity and chauvinism, which are supposed to be wrong, but there are certain characteristics that actually come into your mind or your behavior. And finally, class. The best example of how media is changing the way it should present certain things according to the class that it caters to is newspapers. Newspapers do not sell because of the news that is in them. The amount that they sell is negligible according to the cost that is incurred for printing those newspapers. The newspapers are selling only because of the advertisements that are there. Now the advertisers want to target only the middle class and the upper middle class and the upper class. So therefore the news also molds itself to certain features which actually the middle class and the upper middle class will recognize and empathize with.
So the next few slides just drive home the points that Adil made in the previous 3 slides regarding race, gender, class, etc. So this slide speaks of a few examples and statistics about gender discrimination as represented in media. Primetime television, for example, sitcoms, serials or other shows shown on TV had often seen men in lead roles, and very few women were actually there in the show, or even if they were playing a role, it wasn't a lead role, it was a side role. If it's a hospital kind of scenario, women would be nurses at the most, alright? There wouldn't be any women neurologists or radiologists, or so to say. But then times change a little, and now the male-female ratio in primetime broadcast on TV is 55 to 45%. A healthier ratio than yesteryears, than a few decades ago, right? And females in lead roles are more prominent nowadays. You see these suits, haven't you? Right? So one of the heads of Pearson Spectre is a lady, right? So that is the kind of change that we have seen in media today. That represents changing society. However, there are a few other forms of media like video games and all where playing characters dominate the numbers. GTA, San Andreas, right? That's a guy, and that's an African American guy who's playing crook. Alright? There's still a little bit of racism over there and gender discrimination. About sports. How many of us actually know the members of the women's cricket team from India? Right? Even their performance has been equal to the men's cricket team or even better, statistically speaking. Alright? Even they win matches, they lose some, but then they also bring home laurels for the Indian team. Right? Even in US, women's basketball and all is not covered as much as men's basketball is at NBA. A few sports that gain a little more coverage than others as far as women's sports are concerned are beach volleyball, yes. Yeah. Swimming. Right? Men's events and women's events are equally covered. Alright? I think you can understand the point that I'm getting at. Right? It's for men's visual consumption or something that, people think is going to grab more eyeballs. Right? Isn't that very sexist? Don't you think? It is, right? Mr. Jainis? It is. So this is the point that I was making. So earlier women hardly had representation in sports in the past, right? In the past few decades. Now they do. They play a lot of sports and a wide variety of sports, alright? Even the Olympics and all. But they don't get as much airtime even today. They do get some, but not as much. Society as represented in media in the context of class, alright? Let's speak of advertising. People will advertise products to people who can buy them. True? So people who can buy them are those with disposable income, right? Those who actually have TV sets and all at home, right? So ads are made to cater to those people who have the money to buy products. So we are speaking of rich people, upper middle class, even a portion of the lower middle class. If we talk about products that are made by social enterprises such as very affordable products like Mitti Cool, for example, how much are they advertised on TV or in print media? Not much, right? They aren't. So this is another skewed aspect of media that we see in the form of advertising. And the issue of race, as Adil had earlier spoken about, this actor, does anyone know him? Sidney Poitier, right? He was the first African American actor. I'm using the word African American because I really don't want to use these words over here because the presentations get recorded, right? So this guy alright, came in the lead role in movies and even won an Oscar for it, alright, and everyone was actually surprised, right, and that set the pace for the 60s, 70s and 80s when there was a huge movement against racism in America. Look today, 2001, Denzel Washington and Halle Berry, both who are not Caucasian people, won Best Actor and Best Actress Academy Awards, right? Then there. Barack Obama is the President of America. So there is a huge change that has happened in the past few decades, and that is also represented in media. See these advertisements everyone? Right? Another form of print media from the yesteryears. That's a Van Heusen ad. And this is some secret ad. I don't know. Was even born there. Right? But then they, if we look in the context of today's mentality and society, these are very, very demeaning to women, right? And on the other hand, everyone recognize this ad? This is the Airtel ad, right? And as is customary, we are now going to play a video so that, you know, some of you must even take.
Sorry guys, you'll have to manage it. Okay? We should start now.
This is not that she's being tough over here. This is showing a working woman. Not just any working woman, she's a version of power.
Okay. कुछ हो तो कॉल करना. अच्छा रोहन, मैं घर पहुंच रही हूँ. तुम डिनर में क्या खाओगे? ओके.
टाइम लगेगा. बॉस ने बहुत काम दिया. बाय.
बॉस को बोलो कि वाइफ बुला रही है.
तुम भी बोलो ना बॉस को.
चल रही है. वेट करेंगे.
कभी कभी बस एक स्मार्टफोन लाइफ में पूरा मैजिक ला सकता है. तभी तो खास स्मार्टफोन्स के लिए बना है एयरटेल, द स्मार्टफोन नेटवर्क.
Now everyone has seen this ad a lot of times, right? A working woman who's her husband's boss, right? One little detail that we need to look at is when this phone rings, it shows wife calling, alright? It didn't show the name of the wife, alright? It was important to put that word over there. Why? Why? Because, see, visually we can see that she is her husband's boss, right? That is pretty clear, that was made clear, alright? But then, when she called him on his phone, it had to be shown wife calling because that had to be made obvious, alright? The distinction that while she was in the office, she was playing a different role, now she's playing a different role, alright? So that was made to drive the point home, the point about the ad, right? It did show the name of the wife. So how is the symbolism relevant to managers and corporates, right? We have been talking about media and how it represents society. Now, everyone think, many of you might have worked, right? How many of you are working over here? Right? Do you agree with me on the fact that you're a different person when you're at home, alright, and you're a different person in the office? Is there a difference?
Yes.
There is a difference, isn't there? And yet, you would like to disagree on some very basic levels that I'm still the same person, right? Cognitive dissonance, we might call it, right? Or, I'm sorry, emotional dissonance. Yeah, I got the difference incorrectly, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that the corporate, how much time do we have? Then I'll carry on. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that just like movies, the workplace, the corporate, the company is also a representation of the society we live in, alright? You're a different person. Alright, wherever there's a dress code in any company, suit up, you wear a tie and coat and everything, that's really uncomfortable. You go to office, you're all this formal gentleman or lady, right? And then there's a different set of norms that you adhere to. But then at some levels, in some ways, our societal values and cultures creep into the workplace as well. Alright, which is why we are taught cultural differences and all in MBA, right? How to be sensitive to different cultures in the workplace. So yeah. So for example, gender discrimination, right? This is one unjust condition that we saw that happens at the workplace. It happens in society and it percolates to the workplace as well. Ankur actually has an example that he would like to share.
Thank you. Now, how many of you have actually seen House of Cards and are a fan of it? Right? So, in case you haven't, so what the scenario in scene is there is one, the wife of the president, she runs a firm and she has an employee. Now, she fires the employee in reasons because of miscommunication or something. Ironically, at that point of time, the employee was pregnant. However, that was not the reason of firing her. So what happens is when she is fired, the employee goes to the media and says that she is being fired because of her pregnancy. So in that way now, what happens is the media gets, you can say, they need to start pressing try to find someone because of gender discrimination because she is pregnant. So and this spreads like wildfire. So you can see how media actually turns everything against you, how it turns the social inequality against you, even when you don't mean it in the workplace. So now,
Thank you. So that is one example that illustrates this gender discrimination point. The next mental condition that we are looking at is the power distance. You know that us people in Indian society, we are used to living in joint families at some point of time in our lives. The scenario might be changing these days because there are more working couples and all living away from the hometowns in metros and all. So that is a different scenario. But then we know the concept of joint family and how it is very, very prevalent in our Indian culture. And so is the kind of respect that we give to our elders. We are always taught right from childhood that we must respect the elders, listen to them, obey them, right? And we are actually sometimes rewarded or praised by our parents when we are the obedient kid, right? So that is the kind of culture that we have grown up in, and that is the kind of culture that Indian companies have also seen at the workplace, right? Often, in a very, very Indian context, inside a company, inside a workplace, we refer to someone elder to us or senior or in a senior position to us inside a company as sir or ma'am. Alright? That scenario has been changing now because that kind of shift happened in the 90s and all during the IT boom and during the period of liberalization when a lot of foreign companies and all came into India. A lot of culture from US capitalist corporate culture and all was followed into India. For example, referring to everyone in the workplace by their first names, right? That is not something that is an Indian concept. That was done to make the organization flatter to reduce the power distance, as is the case in US corporates as well.
now you must be thinking, how can we find a fix for the social inequality? So generally, the solution is actually very trivial. It's very cliche. And we are asking you to be blind. To be blind to race, gender, and age. Why? Because actually when you are blind to all this, then you will see the actual potential of it. For example, when you look at the workflow, don't look at what the gender is. Recruit in case whatever his race is. When you're going for recruitment, don't again look for what his race or gender is. Again, when you're looking for appraisal, don't see how senior, don't see the employee's seniority, but actually focus on his talent. So this way we are actually trying to start a new paradigm. What the paradigm is that you don't try to mirror what the society is, you don't try to mirror what the society is equality or inequality is. So what we're trying to do is actually create a form of harmonious unity in which people care about themselves because they have mutual benefits drawing from each other. And so in a way you're not trying to mirror the society, but you're trying to create a new society which in a way will lack symbolism of the society. So what happens is, till now media was creating a gap which when you uncover makes you the, you can say, elite class that has actually figured out the gap. But now we are trying, don't have the gap, actually create a whole society of itself, which will actually bring in exclusivity, which will bring in kind of, you can say, belonging to yourself. So finally, what we're driving towards a new corporate world. Now we don't want the society to be kind of like limited with physical boundaries, but now it should be much more economic. What we want is No longer will you be like divided because of your age, because of your gender, but now you'll be like measured because of what your talent is. But now let me give you a thing to ponder about. Is even if you remove age and any kind of discrimination from this, and you bring in talent, so you, in a way we are bringing meritocracy. So aren't we like circling back to the same place? Aren't we like saying that if you're under striving or you're over striving, so we divide you according to that. You are someone who doesn't achieve, or you are someone who overachieves, and in a way we come back to discrimination again. So with that, we'd like to end. Thank you.
Yeah, then group